Evolution of management thought. After understanding the meaning of management, let's go back to the history of management, means how it evolved, how many people had their viewpoints regarding the meaning of management and how it followed. So, basically the evolution, it began in the closing decades of 19th century. Means long back the concept of management had struck someone. So, we will understand the contribution of different managers. One is your starting with F.W. Taylor. Taylor is a very well known management guru. So, he worked towards experiments to increase workers' efficiency. So, what all he introduced? One was scientific task setting. Next concept was differential payment system. Reorganization of supervisors. Then your mental revolution. So, these were the concepts that were introduced by F.W. Taylor as an effort to contribute in making some experiments so as to increase the efficiency of a worker in an organization. Then came another very renowned personality known as your Henry Fayol. Fayol's principles are very common and no manager can go to that position without following these. So, he developed the theory of management and he gave 14 principles which are very important for every manager to know. Let us see what the 14 principles were. The very first principle is division of work. He said that work should be divided and not be overloaded just to one person. Second is authority. And responsibility, means every person who is given some responsibility, then it is required that the person should be given authority too. Then is your principle of discipline, it is self-explanatory. Then is unity of direction, means one subordinate should receive orders only from one superior in order to avoid confusion. Then is subordination of individual interest to organizational interest. Sixth is there should be fair remuneration. Seventh principle is of centralization. And decentralization, means management should be flexible enough to announce centralized and decentralized methods depending on the requirement. Then your eighth principle is scalar chain. There should be a hierarchy that should be followed. Then ninth is order. 10 is equity. Then is stability, initiative, and esprit de corps. These are 14 principles given by Henry Fayol, which are very important for every management student as well as a manager to know. After understanding the contribution of Fayol, then there was a renowned sociologist named Max Weber. He also played a crucial role in evolution of management. He was a sociologist. He was an editor and an author. He believed that an organization would become efficient if some guidelines were followed. Coming to Elton Mayo, he was an Australian psychologist. Then he was followed by Chester Bernard. And Chester Bernard's ideas were contradictory to Taylor and Fayol. Means this is basically to make you understand that management did not evolve overnight. It has several viewpoints and visions that it went through, and finally we get the real essence of management. Then a very crucial role was played by Abraham Maslow. He gave a very beautiful study which is used in almost every managerial aspect. He emphasized on the hierarchy of needs. He gave a pyramidal order of our human needs, and this actually falls true in almost every situation you can check. So he divided our needs in few categories from lower to higher, wherein the basic need is our physiological needs. It includes need for food, health, shelter. Then there are safety needs, means every individual wants to be secure. Then there is need for belonging. We all need a group or association so as to keep ourselves motivated and feel wanted. Then there are esteem needs. And last is your self actualization needs. What Maslow emphasized is on that once our physiological needs are satisfied, every human then moves to safety, then to belonging, then to esteem, and then to self actualization. Means he was very rigid with the fact that this goes in a specific hierarchy, and this remains true for almost every individual. So this is a pyramid of the hierarchy of needs given by Abraham Maslow. Then followed by Abraham Maslow, there came Frederick Loewe. He also gave a very interesting theory. He stated that there are basically two factors that works for an employee or any damn person, and those factors are your hygienic factors and motivational factors. Means there are some peculiar factors which every person looks for before or while delivering his or her services. And these factors, in the hygienic factors, he mentioned achievement, then your recognition, working conditions, job security, and your policies. Then in the motivational factors comes salary, feedbacks, development opportunities, and achievements. So he basically gave a very interesting classification of two factors that play an important role in our professional life. These are your hygienic factors and your motivational factors. Followed by him, let's understand about another very apt theory given by Douglas McGregor. He gave XY theory, which shows the human trait regarding their work and how they behave. Now he classify people, or he classify working style or people into two broad categories. One is X and one is Y. X denotes the authoritarian style, and Y denotes your participative style. Means he tried to show that following these two distinct styles of management, how the people will react. Now under your authoritative style, he made an assumption that an average person dislikes work. Then second assumption was people must be forced with a fear of punishment. Means people would definitely work if they were shown some fear of punishment, fines or anything. Then next assumption was average person prefers to be directed. Means nobody wants to take the charge as a whole and they love to be directed. Means they want some particular directions to be given and then they can work on it. So average person likes to be directed. This was about authoritarian style. Coming to the participative style, the assumptions were effort in work is natural. Means every person loves to work and make an extra effort to do the best. This was an assumption of this style of management. Then there is self control, means everyone knows how to control and direction. Everyone can handle his way of doing work individually. Then there is commitment for objectives. Then people seek responsibility, means people enjoy getting responsibility and they do not run from it. So people seek responsibility. And lastly, intellectual power is partly used. Means whatever the employees are working, they are using only a portion of their actual capability. So these are the two theories that he gave, theory X and theory Y, authoritarian style and participative style, with his several assumptions. After understanding the viewpoints of several great personalities, let's understand some different concepts. One is your management science. Management science means management is an interdisciplinary branch of study, and when we take it as a science, means it is based on some mathematical calculation, some experimentation. So treating it as a management science, it can be used in your capital budgeting, then your production scheduling, development of production strategies, and lastly planning for HR programs. So this means when we are treating management as a science, so it becomes an interdisciplinary branch of study which can be used in 4 different fields, that is for capital budgeting, production scheduling, development of production strategy and planning for HR programs. Now when talking about the approaches of management, there are basically 2 approaches broadly that can be categorized as your decision theory approach and your system approach. Now let's understand these 2 approaches in detail. When we talk of decision theory approach, it includes recognition and definition, of decisions, or let's say of decision situations. Then is identify objectives, alternatives. Once you are identified the alternatives, then you need to evaluate alternatives. After evaluation, select best alternative. Implement alteration if needed. And lastly, evaluate results and follow up. So, all this comes under the decision theory approach. And if you talk about your system approach, then there is a particular systematic order in which those steps are to be followed sequentially, wherein input goes for process and then comes your output, and then when we move backward from again output to input, this step is known as feedback, and this entire is your system. So, these are two approaches of management. One is your decision approach and other is your systematic approach. Now, to understand your systematic approach, let us see one graphical representation wherein this is your system boundary, means this is the boundary within which all the systems, process, policies and everything has to be followed. Then there are different departments as we just did, like marketing, sales, advertisement, or let us say finance. So, these within the system are somewhere interconnected, all of these are connected to each other, and this we call it as an internal subsystem. Within the system boundary, there is a particular system that is connecting these four departments. So, this is your internal subsystem, and outside it we have customers, and there is everything, every communication that takes place between customers and the internal subsystem, that has to be a mutually coordinated decision between these departments. So, this again explains what a system is. Apart from this, there is a very significant model which is known as 7S model of a system. In this, in between comes your shared values, then it has to be linked with strategy, skills, staff, structure, system and style. Now, these are several aspects and they all are related to shared values, also they are related to each other. So, this is how, means again then this is again related to this is again related to this is again related to this. So, this is a complete web that is depicted through this 7S model. So, this was all about evolution of management.